Hello everyone, and welcome back to TowerGate. Day 47 is April 19th, 2017, Wednesday. Sorry last night I didn't get my upload done. Hey, I got it before midnight. It finally got it uploaded about 11:45 last night. Yesterday's video was kind of a long video. It was like 37 minutes. And I had to use the YouTube video editor, which is horrible, by the way. And then in the middle of uploading the video, about halfway through it, which takes several hours to do, my computer locked up, so I had to go completely start over. So the upload didn't get up to almost midnight last night, and which made me a tired fellow this morning. So anyway, didn't get the sleep I probably needed, but I'll be all right. We just keep pushing on. Okay, let's talk about the last 24 hours of TowerGate. Okay, starting today, I will be providing links to my sources. So if you actually want to read the entire story or the video or whatever for my source of the information I'm giving you, you'll be able to go in and read the whole thing for yourself instead of getting just what I do, which is a summary of what I've read. So you can actually go and read these articles, look at the sources, or watch the videos, or what have you. So I will be providing that in the description. There'll be the links in my description there underneath the video if you want to take a look at those sources for yourself. Okay, so in the last 24 hours, we're learning something, and had a couple different sources on this one. I believe this was from National Review. We're learning that this process that we all know happened, where they went to get the FISA warrants, where Obama went to get the FISA warrants, and the first time was rejected, and then I believe that was back in June, and then they went back again, and they the second time and got the FISA warrant approved by making a few changes to the FISA warrant. Now it appears that when they first wanted to go get this FISA warrant, that the guy who really shot that down, it is believed to have been the NSA head, Admiral Rogers. Mike Rogers was the man who apparently said, "Nah, this is not really going to meet the standard I need to be able to do this surveillance. You're going to have to do something else." So apparently, Mike Rogers of the NSA, the head of the NSA, was the guy who did not want to participate in the surveillance that they wanted him to do at the first attempt for this FISA. And it appears that it was at this point that Obama, or someone in his administration, decided to use GCHQ. Because when they couldn't get America's version of NSA, headed by Mike Rogers, to do this, he didn't want to participate in it, they went over to the British version of the NSA, GCHQ, and they had them do it. So this is... if there is a paper trail, if there is any evidence of this, if you can find enough circumstantial evidence, and apparently this is known at this point, this is known that Mike Rogers said no, he did not want to participate. And then they go over to the GCHQ after that. So if there's enough circumstantial evidence that proves that this is exactly what happened, this is a big problem. Hang on, let me shut this door. There you go. My neighbor's a mechanic. He'll be pounding and beating on things here in a few minutes. Okay, and here's something else that's very interesting that most people are not probably aware of, but the U.S. gives approximately 100 million pounds to the GCHQ every year. So that shouldn't surprise us probably, but this is why they're always so happy to cooperate with us. Because like just about everyone else on this planet, we give people money. We buy people off. We bribe them in order to get them to do things that we would like them to do for us. And in this case, we give 100 million pounds a year to the GCHQ. And maybe maybe when Obama called him up and said, "Yeah, I tried to get my NSA director to do some illegal surveillance for me. He didn't want to do it, so I figured I'd give you guys a call, seeing as how we do give you $100 million or 100 million pounds every year. And of course, we don't have to give you 100 million pounds every year. I could, work on that, but it'd be much easier if you just help me out, and I'll make sure the 100 million pounds finds its way to you." So it'll be interesting to see how these dots are connected. And here's another thing that we're learning, again, links provided for you, is that in October of 2016, the FISA warrant was finally granted. And there was nothing found. And we know that. We know that because we saw both Clapper and Brennan, both who despised Trump, who we now know were actively working against Trump, but both, we sat right there and watched Clapper tell Jake Tapper, I believe he's MSNBC, Jake Crapper, he told Crapper, he said, no, he said, you know, there's nothing there. You know, we investigated that and we found nothing there. So even with the heads of the two intelligence agencies admitting that the results of their surveillance, which it appears was done through a FISA process, yielded absolutely nothing that would prove that there was any illegal activity going on between Trump or anyone in his administration with the Russians. Nothing found. But they continued the wiretaps and continued their surveillance anyway. That's a problem. Because the way the FISA process is set up, it's supposed to be very, very limited. The FISA process is only supposed to be used when you're dealing with suspicions that someone is a foreign agent or that someone is communicating with or collaborating with a foreign agent. It's specifically what the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is meant to cover. It's meant to deal with interactions between folks who might be acting as foreign agents. It's not a warrant that's supposed to be used like a standard criminal warrant for a standard criminal investigation. But we have them doing both of those things right here. Again, link will be provided in the description. We know that they got the FISA warrant approved in October. They did the surveillance. They reviewed the intel. They found absolutely nothing. But they continued to do investigation, surveillance investigation, and it appears that what they're going to try to say is, yes, well, we decided that there was a server in Trump Tower, and so we needed to have a look at that server, so we continued the surveillance. This is going to be their fallback position. Unfortunately, this is not going to work, because looking at a server in this particular situation would essentially be a crime, a standard type of criminal activity. It would have nothing to do with a foreign agent or someone collaborating with a foreign agent or being a foreign agent or anything like that. So they morphed a process which is meant to deal with foreign agents and identifying foreign agents or people having to have activity with foreign agents. They morphed that. When they didn't find what they wanted, they continued the investigation and morphed it into a criminal investigation. See the way they got to swerve and weave to try to make all these things come together and make it look like they're innocent of anything? But it isn't going to work, because once these people are sitting in front of the Congress in these hearings, if the members of the committees that are looking into this are actually seriously interested in getting to the bottom of this, this one is not going to slide. This is not going to fly at all. So this is a problem, and we'll be watching very carefully when they go through the hearings and they start discussing these issues, because you can't use a FISA warrant to conduct, or it wasn't intended to be used to work on standard type criminal activity. It was specifically a FISA warrant is to deal with foreign intelligence. And also you have to ask the question, why would Susan Rice, a national security advisor, even be dealing with any of this? A national security advisor isn't supposed to be involved in conducting investigations. A national security advisor is someone who would get intel and get information from a investigation that would be conducted by the FBI or by the NSA or by the CIA or whoever. The national security advisor is not someone who's supposed to be running criminal investigations. There's a lot of problems with this, my friends. A lot of problems. I can't imagine that Susan Rice is going to testify. It's a no-win situation, as I said. She can't win on this deal. If she testifies, I know she's going to try to do the Comey thing. Her lawyer's probably telling her don't do it. But if she doesn't do it, she's going to look guilty. And with all the other information that comes out, I think this thing will end up with a independent prosecutor, a grand jury, and at some point she is going to have to face the music. I just see no way that she wins in this deal. I see no way out for her other than to sit there and say, well, I'm going to assert executive privilege and not comment on this because it's classified or something, in which case we'll say, okay, well, we'll do a closed hearing, and they'll get her behind closed doors. So she'll probably also want to be able to testify. As I said a couple days ago, they're trying to negotiate a deal where she can testify but not be under oath. They're not going to do that. So Susan Rice has got to be sweating. You know, I just see no way, because right now it looks like she is going to be the scapegoat. So we're going to find out what's going to happen there, even though we now know from yesterday's video that Valerie Jarrett is actually the point person. And if you haven't looked into Valerie Jarrett, I highly encourage you to look at Valerie Jarrett, her family, and what their particular ideology is, and what sort of people and groups that they associate with. I think you'll be very surprised. She's a real peach. Okay. Let's take a look at another thing. As I mentioned yesterday, we now know what I suspected all along is that this was a Clinton operation. And the day that Donald Trump won the Republican nomination, on that very day, the Clintons actually launched this plan. They said, okay, Trump is the guy we'll run out against, let's destroy him. And they went and they got together with Obama, and they set out their plan to destroy Donald Trump. Well, you know, it's funny because you might think, why would Hillary take such a risk? Why would they do all these things knowing good and well that it's hard to keep stuff like this silent? This type of stuff is going to come out. There's going to be whistleblowers. There's going to be other things. There's just too much going on here to just think that you can just do it without any of this eventually coming back to bite you in the butt. And so why would they play such a high stakes game? Well, I think, this is just an opinion, that if you go back and you look at the Republican primary and you look at how Donald Trump was going after Hillary Clinton, I mean, he was saying, hey, you know, basically giving the impression, and in fact even saying that, you know, hey, if I'm president, I will appoint a special prosecutor and we'll get to the bottom of the Clinton Foundation. We'll get to the bottom of the email scandal. We'll get to the bottom of this. Hillary will put Hillary in jail. So you have to remember, from Hillary Clinton's point of view, her and Slick Willie, they know about all the criminal activity involved in their dealings with the Clinton Foundation. Hillary understood exactly that if all these emails were ever to be released, which probably are in the possession of the NSA and the GCHQ and probably the Russians and the Iranians and the Chinese and everyone else, that if he could ever get his hands on all that information, or Jeff Sessions could get his hands on that information, on those emails, which are probably out there prior to them being bleach-bitted, that it would unravel and the criminal activity would be revealed. So the stakes were very, very high on the other side of the equation as well. So the Clintons had to be looking at it and saying, man, we're guilty as hell. If we lose and Donald Trump wins and he actually follows through on this, our goose is cooked. If we lose, we're going to be hanging from a noose. So the stakes were very, very high. They really had no choice but to do an all-out, high-risk maneuver to try to destroy Donald Trump and do everything they could, knowing that if he followed through on what he said, that they would be in a noose. So this would explain why they would engage in such a high-stakes game, why they would do this stuff as reckless as it is. But they probably believed also that, yeah, we're going to do all this stuff, but the end result will yield us a victory, and we don't have to worry about Donald Trump or his attorney general going after us and the Clinton Foundation and exposing our crimes, because we're going to win. And we're going to win because we're going to do all these things. But as it turns out, even though they did all these things, took the risk, she still lost. And this is why they have Obama's people in there right now in the process, as we talked about yesterday, of destroying documents and working as hard as they can to execute the cover-up before they're weeded out and thrown out. So as I said yesterday, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and I imagine it has a lot to do with destroying documents and trying to cover up. So this explains why the Clintons would engage themselves in so much high-risk activity. And for Obama, it's just simply the fact that he didn't want his legacy overturned. His premier legislation, Obamacare, he knows Trump, if he's elected president, he's going to overturn that. He knows what Trump can do with executive orders to roll back everything Obama did. So for Obama, I think it was his ego, the political consequences of a lot of things he did being rolled back. So both the Clinton and the Obama side of the equation had a lot to lose if Trump won, and that's why they went to such extraordinary, reckless, high-risk activity to try to stop Trump, which failed. And now it's just a matter of time because, again, all these things are coming out. I will cite my sources in the description of the link for today's video, and you can read these things for yourself if you'd like. There's one final thing I want to touch on. Is it also appears, and this again is coming from, I think this was either on National Review or it was a link that I clicked on from National Review, and I will provide this in the description as well. This is very interesting. Excuse me. And it goes back again. Excuse me. Alrighty, this goes back again to the FISA thing. As we know, we had the dossier that was put together by the former MI6 agent, and that apparently was first came to light during the primaries, and apparently this was someone having to do with the Ted Cruz campaign, had been working with this former MI6 officer who produced this dossier, which supposedly had the story about Trump going to Russia and having, some sort of wild activities with Russian prostitutes or peeing on each other or something like that, which all turned out to be false. But it appears now that the unmasking that Susan Rice did on this particular set of unmasking, that I believe this is what Nunes was looking at, on this stuff that was unmasked, that Rice unmasked, was based on the FISA warrant, and this FISA warrant was apparently based on this dossier. So what we're learning here is that they got the FISA warrant, they used this fake dossier that was proven as being a hoax or just not credible. That's what was used for the FBI to get the FISA warrant to conduct their surveillance, and the results of that surveillance is the stuff that Susan Rice unmasked. She unmasked information that came from a FISA warrant from the FBI that was based on this dossier that was nothing more than a hoax. So there we go, my friends. A lot of questions. Susan Rice she's sweating, man. Alrighty, that's it for today. April 19th, 2017. Day 47, TowerGate. You guys have a good day. We'll see you back tomorrow.